Lecture 6, we're onto a whole new section of the course. The course is really divided into two parts. Second part is programming in a Linux environment, which means C programming. In general, we program in C. All the system calls and library functions are in C. C is very much like C++. In C, we use structs instead of classes. If we want, in other words, we don't have classes, we have structs. I don't know if you learned about structs. Did you learn about structs?
Yes.
Yes. So we have structs in C do not have functions inside of them. They only have data. If we want a struct to have a function in it, we will use something called a function pointer. There are several versions of C, actually. For a long time, there was C89. It was used for far beyond 1999. 89 was established in 89, but it was really in use from like 83 until until today. People still use that as the standard C. There's some changes that were made in 1999 and a few more in 2011. So we have a few different versions of C. We will be using mainly C89, though we will discuss some features of C99. Okay, input output. First thing you got to know, most basic thing, how do you print something? You use printf, hello world, and in parentheses, you know what you want to print. When printing a variable, you need to specify the format, which means either decimal, character, or string. So for example, actually D is not good for decimal, it's not a good number, but I mean to say, it really means like digit. Actually, it's better than decimal. I should change my slide here. So for example, A is an integer, digit, or a few digits. Z or B is the value Z, so it's a letter. So I write D. Look how I write what is that called? Percentage sign. D. It means that in this location, I'm going to put a variable which will be specified at the end of the string A. And it goes in order. A is going to be for the D, and B is going to be for the C. Questions?
Change the name.
Change the name of what?
Can I do parentheses A, and that corresponds with A, and then
Parentheses.
no
A.
parentheses, clause.
Percent sign.
Percent sign A. And then
No, you have to be a D, because a D means it's a digit or a decimal number. Has to be C to mean a character. There's a family of similar functions called fprintf, sprintf, and snprintf. Read the manual for more information, but I'll tell you they're very useful. For example, sprintf means don't print to the screen, but print to a string. S stands for string. And you specify in the parameter list here, see the parameter list, how many parameters are here? 1, 2, 3. So you have another, this action function is a funny function. I don't know if you ever saw a function like this. It can have like virtually unlimited numbers of parameters, this function. Because I can keep writing A, B, C, like I can have as many variables as I want. But one of the parameters will be a pointer to a string. And then it'll write to that string. That's what sprintf does. And fprintf, anybody guess what fprintf writes to? It's a file. Writes to a file. Very good. Okay, reading input. So how do you read? So to get input from the user, when you see, you traditionally use scanf. It's like the sister function to printf. So here you see an example. Enter the first number and then scanf %D. Why? Because I want to get what kind of variable? What digit? A digit. And why do I write %x? Because that's where he's going to put the digit. He's going, in other words, if I type 75, 75 will go into the address of x, wherever x is located. X, fortunately, is an integer, so that'll work. You see, I declare x as an integer. I can give it no value. And then here I give it 0, but I can give it no value. And then I put into its location by reference. It has to be by reference. That's the way scanf works. It's a very nice function. There are some other functions called fscanf and scanf, which obviously read from a string or read from a file. Or there's also fgetS, which is another way to get get. It's a funny function because get sounds like get what? Well, get input from this user. And that's, yeah, whatever, it's particularly good for strings. So fgetS is for a string, and you usually use fgetS and don't generally use getS. See, getS, get string, sorry, get what? Well, S is the string. So get string. Getting string is the preferred not to use because it doesn't have buffer overflow protection. So fgetS has buffer overflow protection, so it's better. You can read more about these in the manual or on the internet. These are very well-known functions that every programmer should know. Similarity to C++. In general, C++ is backward compatible to C. What does that mean? What does it mean if it's backward compatible to something?
Basically, if you call it C++, you can take one and see those C++ also understands.
Yeah, the second part was right. The first part was a little bit back.
Copy paste the program from C into C++.
Exactly. If you copy and paste the program from C into C++, it'll run. So, because C is supposed to be a superset of C++ is a superset of C. So if you know C++, then technically you know C. If you know everything that there is in C++, then you know all of its backward capabilities. This is especially true of C89, but later versions of C have some special features which I'm not sure if C++ will support. C is the same as C++ regarding variable declarations, array declarations, function definitions, and control structures. So here's an example. So now we're getting into some different from C++. Declaring structs using type def. So this is a difference. So you see, I'm basically saying everything is the same, and I'll just point out the differences. And that way you know what to look out for. The basic way to declare a struct is like this: struct, element, lm, int I, char k, and then close braces and semicolon. Now, if you did this, if you wanted to make an item of the type element, you have to write struct lm user. In other words, it's not enough to write lm user. You have to write the word struct every time.
This is in C++? What is this in?
No, this is C. We're learning C, so I'm just showing you the differences between C and C++, and this is C only. Both examples are C. It's all C. We're all C. I'm not showing you two different things. I'm showing you C. So that's the way you do it in C. Struct lm user. Now you have to write this annoying struct here, which makes it kind of redundant. Because element, I defined it. So it should know what element is. So actually it's not defined. It's just delineated in some way, but it's not really defined. So we use another thing called a type def, which can save writing the word struct every time we create a new instance. That's supposed to be an instance. So for example, I put these little mistakes in here to see if people are copying my slides or not. That way, they'll copy it without checking, they'll just take the whole thing. And then I know that they took it from me. So here, what is type def? Type def, you say it like this: type def struct. And so type def struct are both keywords in the language. What is the actual name of this type def struct? lm. And actually, logically, if you think about it, you could put a comma here and put another one and have two with the same structure. Now, lm is actually the thing I created, but lm is not an instance. lm is a type def. It's a type. Basically, it's a type. Something similar to a class. So since it's similar to a class in that way, I don't have to write the word struct here because lm works basically. Wait a second, I gotta get this call. I probably was gonna call it earlier. Oh, it's recording. Hello. Hi, who's this? Then I didn't.
Pero.
Alright, you know what I'm gonna do, stop. Stop share. Stop recording.